Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sacred Emergence. It's Michelle Wong, and today I have a juicy episode from Big Dreams in HD, episode 5 coming your way. So a little bit again of what is Big Dreams in HD. It is a free mini-series that I'm doing through Facebook Live and tying in my adventures around potential travels and incorporating human design as best as I can as it comes through as I'm living my life. And this episode has a few really fun updates. And because it was recorded during a Facebook Live, there are segments of me interacting with the audience members that join me live. So you'll hear a little bit of me commenting on some of the posts, me reading off some of the comments during the live and me engaging with some of the audience members. So understand that's what's happening. And yeah, it just feels, I'm just going to keep it all so that you can get the integrity of the entire live. And as always, I have the actual link to the Facebook Live in the show notes if you actually want to watch it. So enjoy this episode. Follow me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram. I'll include the links in the show notes. And anything around human design, feel free to reach out. I love doing readings. My favorite is HD Expanded because I just love spending more time with my clients and helping them integrate with their human design, coming back to ask more questions. It's such a beautiful way. And all the other services that I offer around human design. I will put the link for the reading in the show notes if that is something that you're interested in. And enjoy this episode, and I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers! Hello, everybody, people of the Facebook world. How are you all? It's Michelle Wong here, coming to you live on my personal page. Okay. So feel free to pop on in. Ooh, it's snowing outside. I just got back from a walk and it'll be occasionally one or two little snowflakes. Oh, now it disappeared. The wind blew and then the snow started coming. And then once I said that, the snow disappeared and then the wind stopped. So anyway, we're gonna be snowing for a few days in Seattle. That's the forecast. Oh, it is snowing. Oh, how exciting. It's snowing outside. So if you're tuning in, please say hello. And if you're catching the after party, #afterparty. I have some really fun updates, plot twists for my #Big Dreams in HD. So I'm gonna kind of backtrack a bit. And if you are tuning in live, let me know you're here. Tell me where you're from. And if you know human design, let me know what your type is, your strategy, your authority, your profile. I love all of that. I am an ego manifester with 4/6 profile. Basically, that sums me up. Okay, so yeah, let me rewind a bit. So the last time I was officially sharing an update, I shared that I was applying for an apartment for a 1-year lease, and I got accepted, and I was kind of on the fence. Hi, Emma, I'm so happy you're here, beauty. Oh my God, Emma Clayton's in the house. It's pretty late for you, isn't it? It's past your bedtime, yeah? So Emma, tell me your strategy, your authority, all the things, human design. So the whole purpose of Big Dreams in HD is to tie in a little bit of my journey with human design, my embodiment of it, and sharing that in alignment with travel vibes, because there's a lot that's happening. And as I'm stepping into like my big dreams, I'm actually very aware of my human design. And this video is actually, it's going to be a little bit more, is it vulnerable? Okay, maybe more vulnerable. 9 p.m. UK, amazing. Okay, so it's not too late. I thought maybe it was like midnight your time or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you should go to bed. Anyway, so the last time I was on, I have a confession. I did a live for Big Dreams HD. I think I was gonna say episode 4, part 3, because right now I've done episode 4, part 1 and part 2. This is episode 5, but I came on fellow manifestor here, Emotional Authority 2-4. Oh my gosh, Emma, I love it, I love it, I love it. I know, manifestors in the house. Like, I love my manifestor people because we're pretty rare. And then the fact that you and I are in a mastermind together is even better, right? It's like, it makes it even more dreamy. So, oh my God, I have so many 2-4. I do so many readings for 2-4s. And I have so many friends who are 2-4s. So I'm a fan of 2-4s. Anyway, so I actually have a confession. I came on, I think it was on Monday this week. Mwah. It was on Monday this week, earlier this week. Right now, this is Thursday. So like 3 days ago, I came on and I think I was like 3 minutes into my live. And I have to be honest, I felt so out of integrity. I felt like my body was like, what are you saying, Michelle? And I knew that like I was just like, I had to like regroup. So I deleted my live and I took it off. I don't even know what I was saying because I felt so out of alignment. And I'm all about living in my human design, embodying it, integrating it. You know, technically it takes around 7 years to fully embody your human design. And I feel like with conditioning, it never goes away, right? Because if you have any open energy centers, and whatever, it's not like a strict fact, but like if you have open, undefined energy centers, you're gonna take on from the environment. And if you're not aware, sometimes you'll be conditioned. And anyways, there's a lot of factors with conditioning. But anyway, so we're never gonna be 100% like, like, I'm perfect, you know? Wow, 7 years. Yeah, and I think the logic behind that is because it takes 7 years for our cells to fully regenerate, right? Our bones, our skeleton system, it takes 7 years to actually get like new, fresh cells. And so I think that's the logic also behind like, it takes 7 years to, you know, fully embody. It kind of makes sense. And at the same time, who knows, right? It might take like a year for you, whatever. Everybody's different. So anyway, what I wanted to say was like the last time I was on, I was talking about me getting accepted. I was actually like I was nervous because I said yes to a 1-year lease, and I said it because my big dream is actually to go back to Bali. And the borders were closed for all, if you're not already in Indonesia, you cannot enter. And they kept pushing it back, right? So back in, I think December, they were allowing people to come in. But then in January, they actually closed the borders again. And they said, we'll reevaluate on the 14th of January. So I was waiting. And then a week before the 14th, they said they pushed it back to another 2 weeks, another 28th. And then before that, they pushed it back again to February 8th. And I'm, oh my gosh, they keep pushing it back. And I went on the website just to look at their cases, and it actually looked like it wasn't plateauing. And I'm like, they're probably gonna push it back again, right? And so this opportunity came up for a new apartment, and the timing of everything was, funnily enough, like my landlady where I live now, she sent me a text and asking if I was still planning on leaving in March. And I felt like I was at this precipice of like, oh my God, like, I don't know. And I also felt like I needed to shift things, right? Like I needed to change things up. And so I was like, yes, yes, I'm just going with it. And like, I'm going to find somewhere else to live. I just feel like I needed a shift. And then I found that 1-year unit, and it had everything, right? So that's why I was so attached to it. And the story is, it wasn't the first time I've seen this unit, this apartment complex, in like one of the best neighborhoods it's one of my favorite neighborhoods in Seattle. It had all the amenities, the price was perfect. And I didn't take it the first time. So it came up again, and the timing was just so good that I said yes, but they had to have minimum requirements for income. And I was like, am I gonna make it, right? And like right now I'm 100% through my business, and so I wasn't sure. Anyway, with all that said, I shared in my last episode that I think the manager texted me, I think sometime over this past weekend, saying you got it. I was like, yes. And I was still like, did I make the right decision? Because like I'm locked in for a year, you know? Anyway, so earlier this week, I think it was on Monday, I don't know what day Monday was. So Indonesia was saying, hey, we're gonna announce whether or not we're gonna reopen the borders on the 8th. And that's actually the 7th for us in the US or in the Northern Hemisphere. And there was no news. I looked at all the sites. There were no news. And I was like, okay, I'm really glad I said yes to the apartment, right? And also like my landlady is planning on potentially selling her place, which is why I've been like, does it make sense for me to still be here? What if she sells? Like, it was just like, it just made sense for me to look for another option. And there was no news around the whole, and I was like, this is so weird. Like usually they announce it, or like the account that I follow on Instagram, they actually post pretty early. Like they give updates, and they were silent. And I was like, oh my God. And we are in Mercury retrograde, right? So Mercury retrograde being like communication slows down, technology screws up, right, Emma? Technology, like all the things, right? So technically signing a contract, doing anything during Mercury retrograde is probably like, you really want to make sure you're careful, you're dotting your I's and your T's. And I was a little bit nervous signing a 1-year lease. I put down my deposit, like half of the deposit or whatever, a chunk of the deposit for the application, but I didn't sign the actual lease yet. Like I didn't have the keys in my hand. Emma. I totally get you, because like last year I accidentally deleted my entire cell phone data. So I lost everything. So I feel your pain. And that was like, it wasn't Mercury retrograde. So I can't blame Mercury retrograde. That was just my own like ignorance. So for you, you got an excuse. Anyway, so all that to say, I kid you not. I think it was Monday night. I look at, Emma, you're so funny. Kid you not, Monday night or sometime Monday, I pull up my Instagram and the news start coming in that Bali is open, that Indonesia has opened its borders. I think it's just like there was a lot of debate on it. And I was like, OMFG, like shit. Oh my God. And I just like, what the F do I do now? Right? I was just like, oh my God. And here's the piece, like when I look back, like me saying yes to the apartment, it was a safe decision. And I knew that going in. I knew that it was a safe decision. And I was never 100% comfortable with it. Hello, beauty. Oh, I recognize that little heart bubble. Hello, hello. I believe it's Danielle. Is it Danielle? If I'm remembering correctly, I think it's Danielle, or Chris, I'm sorry. I'm good with faces, and sometimes I'm bad with names. Anyway, if you are tuning in, please say hello. Tell me where you're from, and if you know human design, let me know your human design, your energy type, your authority, your profile, all the things. So anyway, I was never comfortable with that decision, but funnily enough, my dad loved it. He was like, that's great, that's really smart. Dad. And then somebody else that I was talking to was like, I think you made the right decision. And like, it soothed my did I do the right thing? It soothed that question, but honestly, within, I knew like I was not sure if I made the right decision. It felt good to hear that affirmation or confirmation from others, but in the heart of things, I was like, did I make the right decision? I don't know. I made the safe decision. And then on Monday, I attended this Zoom call with one of my friends. She was hosting it to celebrate 1-year anniversary of her business, and she took us through this vision, this meditation vision. of like meeting our 90-year-old self. And I know this meditation well because I tap into my future self, like when I'm 101 years old, and I look back to my life and it's a life of no regrets. And I was so uncomfortable this past Monday when I did that meditation, and I didn't want to say anything because I felt like I made the wrong decision. Because when I look back at my life, me saying yes to this 1 year unit it did not feel good. I felt like I let myself down. And it's still hard. It's such a hard decision because this is like what I want to talk about for this episode and tying in human design. Our not self can get in the way, right? Because logic wants to pull in the safe thing and the pros and the cons. And I was doing that when I was making this decision with the apartment. And there was so much uncertainty and so much unknown that I didn't know what direction to go, right? I would be kicking myself in the pants, in the butt, if Bali still had its doors closed, or Indonesia. And maybe they won't open it until April, right? If that was the case, I feel like I would have wanted to say yes to the apartment. So it's not so cut and dry, but I knew in my heart, like every time I checked in with my heart, like, what do you want? She was like, I want to travel. I was like, I know, but right now we're so limited in travels that like I cannot give you that at this moment, right? I'm also picky of where I want to go. And so it was really uncomfortable and I didn't feel at peace with my decision. And lo and behold, Emma and I are in the same figure 6 mastermind. So I was basically telling my story, like, what do I do? I'm still on the fence. Do I release this apartment or not? Because I haven't officially signed the lease yet. I haven't actually paid my first month's rent and I haven't paid the rest of my security deposit. I just paid, over $200 to secure my spot. And oh my God, everyone was supportive. And at the same time, one of the gals in our group was like, oh my God, would you just go already? Would you just go to Bali already? And I was like, it's so easy when you're looking like you're a third person looking in, right? But when you're actually in it, it's not easy. And I was feeling like this push-pull, this like, what should I do? Because I was like, oh, the jury was still out if Bali was actually open, right? I was reading different websites. Some people were like, yep, it's open. Some people were like, no, it's actually not. And then like, like there were certain like Facebook pages with like immigration authority that they pulled off their announcements saying that it was open. I have a friend who actually lives in Bali, but right now she's in the US and she says it's actually still not open. And I'm like, what? This is so complicated. And so I was like, not sure what to do. And what was funny is after one of our mastermind sisters, you know who it is, Emma. I'm not going to say her name because she's not on the call right now. After she said that, like, oh my God, will you just go already? It was almost like I needed to hear that. Because I was so waffly when I knew my heart's desires, but my logic was kicking in strong. And I remember somebody I'm talking to, he was like, Lala, oh my God, I was just talking about you, but not talking about you. Oh my God, Lala. So I was just saying, hey Lala. So Lala, let us know where you're from. Lala is part of our Figure 6 Mastermind with our amazing mentor, Jonna Kingsford. Lala, I was just talking about you. So I'm sharing my story with travel vibes. And I was saying how a gal in our Figure 6 group, AKA you, you said in our Voxer group, Michelle, will you just go to Bali already? And you're like, it hit me. I was like, I think my response to you was LOL, thank you, but it hit me. That message hit me. And I was like, F it. Like, oh, this is annoying, right? And I wasn't sure what the right decision was because Bali was still like, are we actually open? Are we not? And later that night, I was brushing my teeth to go to bed. I think it was like 9 p.m. because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm so confused right now. Someone I'm talking to, this mystery person I'm talking to said to me, technically it's a sunk cost. Like if Bali is open or not, it's technically a sunk cost, right? And when I think about the actual sunk cost, it's actually my $250 deposit for the apartment unit, because I have not yet signed the actual lease. So if I sign the lease and I break the lease, I would lose my security deposit, which is the cost of the rent plus 2 months rent. So it's like over like $4,000, I think, maybe over 3,000. That would be a shitty sunk cost, right? But 250 I could deal with. So anyway, I was brushing my teeth that night, and this is where my ego authority as a manifestor really kicked in. I just started talking out loud, and I was just like, and what came through was, oh my God, just go. Like, just go to Bali, release this lease. I was like, I'm in 2 different mastermind Voxer groups, and it was interesting because one of the gals who's a facilitator of the other group, she was like, oh my God, I was at the edge of your seat listening to like your decision-making process. It's like, should you go? Should you not? Is she gonna do it? What's gonna happen? And I was like, as I was brushing my teeth, the clarity came through, right? It was like, I heard my voice. I heard the conviction of my heart. And it was like, just release the unit. Because my decision-making was, should I still keep the unit and sign the lease anyway? And when Bali opens its doors, I still go and travel. So I have a place to come back to when I return. But it's an expensive, for me right at this moment, it's an expensive choice, right? It's like, why hang on to a unit that I don't need to at the moment? And another gal was like, there's going to always be places for rent, right? There's always going to be places for rent. And I don't know why I was so attached to this apartment unit, but I was. I think it's because the first time it came around, I said no to it, and then I regretted it. So when it came around again and the timing was right, I was like, I'm gonna grab you. And when I was brushing my teeth, like that clarity came so strong that it no longer mattered. That apartment unit no longer mattered. My fear was burning a bridge. As a 4/6 in human design, I'm all about creating connections, and burning bridges is not something I desire, right? And so, anyway, so the next morning, what did I do the next morning? I announced it to my mastermind sisters. I was like, at this moment, my decision is to let go of the apartment and to say yes to Bali. And there was a wrench in that as well, because I've been hinting this, and it's, nothing is official, but I'm seeing somebody. And this is the mysterious person that I keep referring to. And I was like, oh my God, because it's just a budding, this whatever we have between us, this not label is starting to bud. And I'm like, if I go, I don't know what's going to happen, right? It's like, it's still budding. So it's going to impact what's unfolding. But it felt like the right decision. Honestly, that was this, thanks, Emma. Oh my goodness. When I made that decision that night, I was brushing my teeth, like the truth came through. That was my ego manifestor authority speaking. My ego authority was speaking. And when I knew it was true, because I felt freedom in that choice. Like, it was literal freedom. And at that moment, I no longer wanted that apartment. I don't know why, but it was like, this is no longer the right choice for me. And so what I ended up doing, what did I do afterwards? I told my mastermind sisters, everyone's very supportive. And I felt free. I felt relieved with my decision. And my 101-year-old self was like, good job. And one of the things was, before I made that decision, when I said yes to the apartment, so I had a one-on-one coaching call sometime last year with Melanie Enleer, who's phenomenal. I adore her. And during our one-on-one call, I was at the precipice, and it was Melanie who really planted the seed of everything points to you traveling, right? With where I was at my life at that point, fresh from a breakup, have a lingering plane ticket and credit, and not really having any attachments to Seattle, really. I don't really have family here. She's like, it all points to you traveling, especially with what you're telling me, with what your vision is of the life you want to create and live. And so she said, if you're writing a story and you're reading your story and you're reading your story, what do you want your character to do next? And when I made my decision of taking that apartment, I totally forgot about that. And when I remembered that, I was like, oh shit. Like, I would not want my character to say yes to taking that apartment. And I was just feeling so out of alignment, and I knew I made my decision based on my not self, the safe, versus following my heart. And at that time, I didn't feel like I had enough knowledge to follow the heart, because not enough knowledge, but it just didn't feel like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, the safe thing to do was to take the apartment. So all of this to say, it was a $250 lesson plus $40 of actually applying, getting my background check. So around $300, which I actually feel like is worth it to go through all of this. And it still gave me like a safety net. So I'm not saying like, if I had to do it all over again, I probably will sort of done that, knowing what I know now, because it gave me a little bit of comfort. But my heart the whole time knew that it was probably not the right decision. And I kept checking in, and she was like, yeah, it's not necessarily the right decision in the moment, but I guess you had to make a decision. So yeah. So anyway, I texted the guy I'm seeing just to let him know, right? Because I told him I said yes to the apartment, and he was like, I think that's a great idea. I think he made the right choice. My dad said it was the right choice. And so I was like, I feel really weird. And I still haven't told the apartment that I'm letting it go. I was like, and Bali is still, I don't know if it's actually open. And so the first thing was, I did text the guy, and I was like, FYI, this is what's happening. And yeah, I didn't hear from him for a few hours. And I still did not tell my apartment people yet. I did text my landlady and say, hey, can I stay for another month? Like, would that be possible? And she was on vacation, so I didn't hear from her. And I'm just like, okay, what do I do now? And so what I decided to do was read the requirements to apply for this special visa. And I was like, I'm just gonna apply. So I scanned all my passport information. It's an e-visa, so it's all done electronically. I filled everything in, I hit send, and I didn't have to pay yet. They were gonna send me an invoice, so I felt like I had time, right? But the processing company that I went through, they said that Indonesia borders were open. I really don't know. The jury is still out, but from what they're telling me, it's open. I did send an email to the embassy, and I have not heard back. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trusting right now. So my whole point of this right now is now I'm in trust. It is during Mercury retrograde, so it's a big fat question mark. I have to be patient. And the person I've been talking to, he responded, and he was like, whoa. He's like, that's such a, that's like, wow. And he was very supportive. He was like very supportive of my decision. So that's good as well. And this person's also a traveler, so I think he gets it. What else? And then, so yesterday I received an invoice from the processing company. I paid it. Yep, I paid it. It was a few hundred more. It was another expense that I said yes to. And I just trusted. And I didn't hear back from my landlady yet, so I sent her another text. I'm like, hey, can I still stay at your place? Just, checking. I know you're on vacation. But this is like, please tell me. And before I heard back from her, I just felt this, I didn't want to hold on to the apartment unit if I knew I wasn't going to take it. I just felt, it just didn't feel good. And I'm like, I'm probably burning a bridge here. But I sent a text anyway. And I was like, hey, turn of events, unexpected, but I cannot say yes to this lease. I'm sorry. I know it's an inconvenient, and I apologize for all of it. Blah, blah, blah. And I didn't hear from him for a few hours, and I'm like, oh, this is really awkward. So anyway, I think a few hours later, I received a text from the manager, and my batteries are dying. And he said, I totally understand, life happens, no worries, there's nothing else you need to do. And I was like, I felt relieved, right? This is my 4-6, because it's like, I don't like to burn bridges, because we're all about connections. It's all about the power of our network. And I don't know this person, but I just felt like, oh my God, like, let's just say I come back and another unit is open. I probably want it. And I don't want him to be like, oh my God, this girl, like, no, right? Like, no, let's find a way to like not let her, let's find an excuse to not let her apply, right? I don't want that to happen, right? But he, anyways, when he texted me back, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for understanding. And he just sent me a heart, like, you know, you can like a message. So that's what he did. And I was like, okay, so things were good. And that felt good. And then I got a word from my landlady, and she said, yep, you can stay for another, you know, March. That's all good. So I'm kind of like back to not square one, but like, I don't, something else I wanted to say. So like, I don't have to like move immediately, because before I was moving at the end of February. Here's a piece that I really wanted to share that I just feel it's like the manifestor vibe coming through. The morning, so I think it was Tuesday morning, when I decided I was going to release a lease and go to Bali. I have to store my stuff, right? Because I'm not moving into another apartment. And I have 2 people right now who have, well, there are 2 people. One of my friends, because I have my mattress. The mattress saga continues. I don't know if I'm going to sell or not. But he said, yes, I could store my mattress up on his garage raft, right? So the trick is to get it up there. It's super heavy. This mattress is super heavy. It's queen size. And he shared with me a picture of the size of his raft. It can fit most of my stuff. And I was like, I wonder if he'll let me just store all of my, like most of my stuff there. And I was like, before I made my decision, I was scared to ask. And then my former boss, before, like on my last day of working for him, he did offer to store a few of my items in his office, because his office is pretty big. But the context of that conversation was, yeah, well, you can totally store like a few of your pieces here. Not a big deal. There's room. But I didn't, in my mind, I was like, ooh, I can store my couch. I can store my bookcase. And then I have like my drawers for my desk. I have my 2 nightstands and potentially something else. Like I had like bigger furniture pieces. And I mean, that was what I was thinking. That's not what he was saying, but I was like, I wonder if I could do that. And I didn't feel right to ask until this Tuesday, when I made the decision that, yeah, I'm releasing the lease. I'm going to apply for Bali. I need storage, right? And my goal is to not have to rent storage. And so I felt this initiate energy of, I'm just going to ask now. This is the timing is right now. I'm going to ask. So I sent the text to both my former boss and to my friend. I was like, hey, can I store, like literally I listed out the things that I wanted to store. And then my friend was like, can I store most of my stuff? And hands off, right? And then I waited. And within 30 minutes, my friend's like, yeah, no problem. I was like, ah! And then my boss, a few hours later, yep, no problem, as long as it fits. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And then I texted another friend, because I have some clothing, like longer pieces, like dresses and all of that I don't want to fold up. And I asked her if I could store it in her closet. And then I actually reached out to another friend if he could store a few items. And they're all both like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, oh my God. Like, so my point is, when we're in alignment, like Tuesday, I was in manifestor alignment. Let's initiate, let's just take action. It felt right. The timing was right. And I just did it. And within whatever, by Tuesday night, I got all the answers cleared. Which was really exciting. And when I was applying for my visa for Bali, I had to put an emergency contact down. And usually I put a friend down, but they said family member. And I think it's because the culture in Indonesia is very like family. It's very family based. So the options there were no options for a friend. I guess I could still put a friend down, but I was like, oh, I'll just put my dad. And so I had to call my dad just to make sure like I give him a heads up. And then he was like, wait, I thought you signed up for the 1-year lease. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. He's like, you want to travel across the world during a pandemic? I was like, yeah. But that's like stunned. And then my mom, bless her, she was like, have fun. I think like what was really funny, because I have friends in Bali, and she said to me, you should go somewhere where you know people. I was like, yeah, I know people in Bali. And she was like, no, last time you went to Indo. And I was like, Indo, like Bali is in Indo. It was just really funny. And she was like, really? Anyways, really cute. She's like, oh, okay. So when she knew that I had a friend, which is funny because the first time I went to Bali, I didn't know her. I met her when I went. But my mom just wants to make sure I'm safe. And so, yeah. And then I texted my friend who lives in Bali, and she's like, I can't wait to see you. And she's gave me advice on where to be in Bali. And she's like, no, don't go there. That's still like not safe. She's like, stay near where I'm at and we can hang out. So yeah, really excited. So anyway, that's the update. So right now I'm just waiting for my visa to get processed. It's gonna take 2 weeks. And once I have that in hand, I'm gonna book my plane ticket. In the meantime, I'm packing up. I'm selling some things to be continued. So that's the vibe. That was my pen dropping. I had notes because if I don't have notes, I am all over the place. So what I did want to share, I'm excited for you. Thank you, Emma. I adore you. I love you. Yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to say. I think like coming back to human design, it's really around like, it's not always easy to listen to our authority. It really isn't. We're so conditioned to not, that it takes a lot of practice. And even in the span of like, I felt like, I mean, I shared with my mastermind group that like, I feel like I've been on this topic forever, right? Even like Lala, she was like, oh my God, will you just go already? Because I feel like I was so back and forth, like teeter-tottering, like, I don't know. And in another mastermind membership group that I'm part of, you know, everybody was supportive of me staying in Seattle for another year and being like, oh, you can travel within the US. It's so gorgeous and there's no mosquitoes, right? Like the chances of me getting bitten a gajillion times in the heat is like negative, right? And so like that felt like the safe thing, but my heart was still in Bali. And my 101-year-old self is very happy. The imaginary book of my life is happy. Like I'm a very happy reader. I'm like, yeah, she did the right thing. And yeah, the ego authority, right, is really around what do I want? What does my heart want? And then if I don't know, use my voice to speak it out. So that's what happened on Monday night when I was brushing my teeth. It just came through. And like, I knew it was the truth because I felt free, and it was like, yeah, that's it. Like, that's it. Like, that's the decision that needs to be made. And once I knew that, everything else, nothing mattered anymore. And that's the dance. It's the dance of our not self, our mind wanting to take over. And sometimes it wins. Sometimes it wins until it's like, I don't know what to say about like we're not psychics, right? We're not fortune tellers per se. So I didn't know what would happen. So of course, like it made sense for me to take the safe answer until it was no longer the safe answer, until it like would suffocate me. And so I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that the apartment unit that I initially said yes to did not make me require to sign immediately, because I would have signed immediately and I'd be like, big dreams in HD on pause. Or I make so much money that I can still pay for the unit while I'm traveling. And that would be ideal too. But right now I'm still growing my business. So, you know, that's where I'm at. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, especially if you're catching the after party. And thank you, Emma, for tuning in the whole time. I adore you. I love you. All right, everybody, stay tuned for more news, more updates, and all the things. Okay, to be continued. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.